for a team to be able to perform at peak performance levels, I think you have to have the right amount of intrinsic motivation. Try to move away from the typical playbook management approaches. Don't get lost into the world of management, but rather follow something which just like resonates more with your gut feeling. I think we are currently at the emergence of a next generation of companies, not meaning we're tackling new problems, but rather the way you build and run and design a company has fundamentally changed since the emergence of LLMs. And I think this is what excites me the most right now, because I can do that at Avi, and basically we're trying to create that new type of company. But I also want to see how will the world change when these companies become a reality and become successful. I think it's just like an interesting peak point and change of the way we work and the way we solve things in the history of human development. You tend to make the assumption that everyone is as motivated and as driven as you are, and then that even people that might not be excited at the beginning, you can basically get them more excited, and then you believe too long, more or less, that they will get there. And I think this is where we, as humans, fall into we want to believe the good, right? And not look at like the actual information that we have and make just a rational decision rather than an emotional one. I would say that's probably the thing that I see most, and also the mistakes that I do the most. There is a lot of assumption in every space you are in that at one point you need to bring in senior executives to make your team more successful. I've just never seen that work. And talking to people that have also brought companies public, they've also never seen it work. So there seems to be kind of like a two-sided truth, on the sense that there's one thing people say, and what we see in reality is rather that these people come in, have some knowledge that they can bring in, but they expire after 1 to 2 years. Unfortunately, I think there's no shortcut to making your own experience with that. I mean, I've tried giving this feedback to younger founders, and I still see them doing the same mistake. And it's just like, I've come to the conclusion that people need to kind of like see it on themselves, or like learn on themselves to actually accept that. So I do think that I defaulted when hiring people to look more for ambition than skill, and basically also maybe evidence skill. If I also look at my leadership team today, all of them are maybe 5 to 10 years in the working world, right? I don't have any of those like gray hairs in there. So that was one thing. And second thing, I also try to move away from the typical playbook management approaches and just being more kind of like my authentic self, and kind of drive leading my team as I would just want to lead a group of people, so to say, right? Meaning being just very honest, being very transparent, being very caring about the people, but not trying to follow any kind of like playbook management logic, which we did do a lot of Konux and didn't really work. One of the biggest misconceptions in my mind is that, or let's not call it misconceptions, but like maybe overstated fact, is the link between if you give people enough context, right, and give them enough ownership on their own decisions, that will drive more performance, so to say, right? So there is an effect on that, definitely, but I would say the delta of that between performing and not performing is maybe like 10 to 15% at best, right? The biggest contributor I've seen to like people performing or not performing is alignment of the goals with their own personal interests. If you have a perfect match between, okay, I'm doing this because I want to do it, because I think it's something that I think it's valuable for myself, for my career, for what I want to do, then you just get 50 to 70% more performance. Are we equipping the right people on the right roles? If you achieve that, then you are best possibly aligned that you can be. I think in our founding team at Konux, the thing that made that exceptional, and basically I think it's the sole single biggest contributor to whatever success the company has achieved, is we were so almost like tied to each other, in a sense that it was almost like a commitment between ourselves that this is going to be successful, that everyone was like going 200%. I think if I look at Avi right now and my leadership team, which I have today, I think there it's more this very good match between what is the individual's goals right now, right? And is the individual on a trajectory to grow for themselves, and that being very closely aligned with what the company what stage of the company is, what company needs to do. For a team to be able to perform at peak performance levels, I think you have to have the right amount of intrinsic motivation. You cannot motivate the people if they're not motivated themselves. I think there needs to be enough trust between the individuals to create a very honest conversational foundation, so that you can give very harsh and receive very harsh feedback, but also it's instantly transform that in constructive action, like how we improve and get better, right? We just default to looking more for capabilities and less for experience and basically track record, right? So it's more like do we feel this person is kind of like a go-getter? We'll try to kind of like go over the things that we want, and are they smart enough to basically be able to understand and challenge what we're trying to do? I never look at the CV. Right? When I have an interview, I just like talk to the person. I never look at the CV before. Sometimes it's weird because they assume I looked at the CVs, right? And so I'm always telling them, give me the 3 things you think are most important for me to know, right? But I don't believe it gives me any insight into the capabilities of a person, besides places that they've been where I know it's a similar culture, right? So if I see names of companies in there where I know, okay, that has been a kind of like high performance culture, that's a positive indicator, but everything else, I think it's just, doesn't tell you so much about the person, but speaking with the person, you just get much more information about like, what is the mindset of this person, where are they at? For my part of the interview process, right, I'm trying to assess this, like, is this person intrinsically motivated enough and can think fast enough on the ground to make the right technical decisions when they need to, but also kind of like push the right questions when they need to. What's your motivation? How much work do you put in, right? How do you get over hurdles, right? Like how resourceful are you to get the things done that you need to do? And then how resilient are you when things don't work to kind of work over humps, right? So I would just look for people that are the same level of motivation and basically willing to do whatever it's needed to get the job done, right? Independent of their whatever background or skill set, but don't stress too much about matching the right skill sets, but rather look for the personality traits that indicate this person will do something with their life. I think it's just this level of not so basically not being caught up into the content of the world, right? And basically what you can do about managing teams and leading teams and all of that, right? Which is like there's infinite amount of knowledge in there, and most of that knowledge has been built around big companies, not necessarily around those companies, but then being honest with their teams and say, hey, like, this is where we are, this one to deliver, and created that vulnerability from themselves and showing like, this is what I can do, this is what I cannot do, or this is what I need your help, right? And bringing the people in and giving people a chance to help, right? I think that it summarizes with me into authentic leadership, right? And there's like different versions of that because none of us are the same, but being your authentic self, I think just yields the best results. Formalities too early with the purpose of scaling are just inefficiencies to me. So like you're letting opportunity in terms of like delivery on the table, trying to match a perception of the company versus building a product which delights customers, right? So like I'm a big believer into, if you build the right product, the right financial outcome will come, and then you will have investors to back that, right? If you're trying to match a company from what you think an investor likes to hear, that means to me like you're not doing this because you want to build something, you're doing it because you want to raise money and like whatever you think that comes with that, right? But I've never seen that work into actually building a company, as it's like obvious, right? If you don't have good fundamentals in the business, then it doesn't make sense. I would say initially, because I did do a lot of hires and a lot of wrong hires, a lot of them, specifically during my time at Konux, I think it would be just take more time to assess if that person is really the right fit, before you hire them. And then probably the second one is like, don't get lost into the world of management, but rather follow something which just like resonates more with your gut feeling, as I think that's just like a better, it yields better results. So I like to be very upfront about it and basically bring the people together and try to solve them. Theoretically, you can do conflict management and all of that. In reality, it's like, if the people don't want to solve the conflict, it's never going to be solved, whatever you do with it, right? And if they want to solve it, they solve it pretty quickly, right? You don't have the time and the capabilities to actually do almost like a counseling, right? Because you need some level of counseling when you go into this level of conflicts. And I'd never seen that work in a company where you say like, oh, you've gone through some session with someone and suddenly they're best friends again. Like, just like never happened. On one side, be just very reliable, right? So whatever the information, support, the request for help is coming, just be quickly responsive. And even if it's like, hey, I cannot solve it today, but just like give people the feeling you are in their corner and helping them. And then the second element is just being a lot on the ground, right? Meaning like I try to go, and I've just have been now for the last 3 quarters, every quarter at least 10 days working myself in a clinic, right? And basically working reception or stuff that I can do as not a medical professional. That just gives another view on one stuff you can improve with the product, but also the people, they see me, I'm there with them in the first line. I think that drives more cohesion than anything we've done with events and whatever, tried to setups and quarterly events or whatever. People like those because it's like an event, right? But it doesn't drive any performance or any kind of like more output that you're trying to get. Yeah.